Welcome back to the 5-Star Podcast. My name is Jesus, and again, I have my co-host Ray.
Hey, everybody, how's it going?
Well, we are on episode 10. I know we didn't record last week, but we're still trying to figure out how we're going to do the off season. I know it was Super Bowl weekend. We just had a lot of stuff going on, so we're going to recap the Super Bowl, go over some of the Cowboys news that happened in these past couple of weeks. But going forward, we're just going to kind of play it by ear. If there's a lot of news, we'll make an episode. Our intent is to make an episode every week. So if you guys want to help us out, definitely comment and on Twitter or on Facebook, wherever you see the video or podcast, leave us your thoughts, any suggestions, what you guys want to hear. We talk about all kinds of stuff that relates to Cowboys. Sometimes we go off and talk about other teams, which is fine. Just kind of let us know, what you guys think. Any suggestions would be appreciated. But we'll get right into this one. We're late on this, but the Super Bowl it was not what I predicted at all. We had Miguel on the pod last time, and I was talking a lot of mad stuff about Mahomes is the GOAT and how he's gonna do, and he just did not do any of that. And I kind of ashamed a little bit of myself because I didn't do enough research in figuring out that not only was the left tackle not playing, but there was apparently another line. And again, this is a Cowboys pod. I don't follow the Chiefs. I don't follow all the teams like the way I follow the Cowboys. So that's my fault. I should have known that they had two linemen that were not playing and how it was going to affect the team a little bit more than I thought it was. He just could not, and this is my little review of the game, he could not get any passes. He could not get any time. And he still was able to go in and make his little plays happen, make incredible throws. And there was 2 times where they dropped a touchdown. I mean, it was just a drop. I think that could have changed it, especially in the first half, the way the game was going. And once those plays didn't happen, it was just kind of like, we'll wait and see.
Mention our scores, though. I think we made some predictions last week. Yeah, I'd like for you to. I feel like we need to get into that.
All right, we'll get.
I was wrong too, but yeah, we need to cover that.
All right, so Ray had it 42-38, Kansas City winning, and I had 35-27. And Miguel actually had 17-27, Tampa Bay winning. So he actually,
came pretty close.
He came closer than both of us. And if I was a betting man and you listen, or if you were a betting man, you listened to Miguel, you probably won a lot of money there. He was onto something.
No, I think a note that we want to make is you said 35-27.
Mm-hmm.
But just to kind of quote you from a couple weeks back was your thoughts were that it was 35-27. The only reason you're giving Tampa Bay 27 was to give Tom Brady a little bit of respect, but that you really thought it was going to be Kansas City just obliterating Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay team that you said, how are they even in the Super Bowl? Like, man, you're just confused. Like, they don't belong in there. And oh my gosh. I think Tom Brady and the Buccaneers just showed you why they belong in the Super Bowl. Now, I will say, let me make a quick note.
Yeah.
I was wrong too.
Yeah.
But I kept saying, I would not be surprised if I'm wrong. I would not be surprised if Tom Brady just won this game. So my score was wrong, but I'm not surprised with what I saw. Jesse, on the other hand, you were way off.
Yeah, for a little context for the viewers, we actually had a little virtual Super Bowl party. It was like me, Miguel and Ray and my brother and my dad, and Ray's dad was there too. And started off like we're all like, yeah, Super Bowl. I was all hyped up. It looked a little bleak around halftime, but I'm like, it could probably still come. And nah, just after like the first drive, after it was just done, and I just didn't want to watch anymore. And Miguel kept calling me out. Miguel wanted to be in this podcast, by the way, just to let you know. We're recording this on a Monday night, and it just snowed apparently everywhere, including Texas, that does not get snow, and they were not ready for it. And so half of Texas is without power. So that's why Miguel, he's been without power all day today, so he couldn't be on the pod today. we'll for sure get him on, and he'll have his shining moment to
to make his comment. But going back to what you were saying, I know you try to switch off from that real quick, but just to let the viewers know,
yeah,
Jesse was very much rage quitting the watch party that we had going because, yeah, Jesse's predictions did not go his way at all.
dude. We'll talk a little bit about the game. So the lineman obviously was a big issue, more than what people thought. But I mean, they have Sue. I mean, they were just. It felt like when the Broncos played the Patriots, and the Patriots were really, really good, and Peyton Manning couldn't throw a lick. Like, it looks like I don't know why they had him out there. It was that year that he got injured, and Osweiler like kind of kept him in, pretty much into playoff.
Right.
Into the playoffs, and they won that Super Bowl. It reminded me of that a little bit because the line was just so dominant. They had DeMarcus Ware at that time, and they still had what's his name? I'm blanking. He's still there. Von Miller, yeah. And it just kind of felt that you couldn't do anything. It felt like, as a Cowboys fan, I'm like, finally another team makes you think, like when we had those games where, you know, our left tackle Tyron Smith goes out and we can't get a lick of offense going, and we're always questioning the Cowboys staff. And it just kind of felt good to, like, I don't know if it felt good's the right word. It's just kind of like, it's hard for these teams to adjust mid-game. And it's a reminder, especially as Cowboys fans, when we're watching these games, that it's not easy. Even the best struggle, and especially when you lose linemen, and how important it is when you lose those linemen to game plan for that. And they just didn't. And I think what doesn't get reported after this game is, you know, Andy Reid's son was like involved in the crash, and he was drinking, and you know, right before the Super Bowl, a couple of days. And I think that might have affected, not a lot, but you know, that's your son. That's, you know, I'm sure it was in the back of your mind, and it just felt like they just weren't adjusting to whatever, you know, the rush was being thrown at them.
Yeah, you know, and I will jump into the game as well, a little bit, my thoughts and such, but yeah, there's no question that that had its impact on the Chiefs and specifically on Andy Reid. I mean, this did not seem like the same Chiefs that we've been seeing all year. I understand the injuries, and that makes complete sense. And what the Bucks did, like, I don't want to take any credit away from the Bucks. Like, the Bucks went out there and earned that win, no doubt about it. But to me, it seemed like it makes a lot of sense that Andy Reid was mentally preoccupied, had a lot of scary thoughts going through his mind with his son in that situation. So yeah, I mean, I absolutely believe that being, I think, a day or two before the Super Bowl happening definitely had an impact on Andy Reid. I think his mind was elsewhere.
Yeah. No, like I said, I don't want to do a lot of excuses because these guys are really good about compartmentalizing things, especially when you're a head coach. They always have to sacrifice family over, or the job over the family. So I know they're really good at it, but I think it played a role. I mean, not the Chiefs they didn't score, and that's Mahomes, I think, first time ever not scoring. And he did everything he could. Obviously, like, we're 2 weeks out now, and you know, there's reports or news that he had surgery for his turf toe, and so we don't know how much pain he was playing in. But I don't actually blame this on him. I mean, every time he was running out of the pocket, he was making plays. He had a couple of throws that weren't good, but for the most part, all the throws were on point. Especially that one, I'm sure everyone saw the highlights. He's like sideways throwing the ball like 40 yards, like perfect, and the guy doesn't catch it. It's just like insane.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
No, I was going to talk about Tom Brady a little bit, and you know, I still stand with a little bit what I'm saying. I mean, if you look at his stats, he didn't have like the greatest game. I think it was only like 200 yards passing. You know, it wasn't. I put this more on the defense, and this question came up too a lot. Like, what does a defensive player have to do to win Super Bowl MVP? You know, like, and I think that's a little valid question. Like, this game was won because of the defense, and it's crazy that still in 2021, I guess, that line still stands true. Their defense wins championships, even though the league is all about quarterbacks.
Well, that statement is true. Going to the MVP statement, I think this is a unit.
Yeah.
The thing about a defense is really that, it is kind of like that cliche statement that you're only as strong as your weakest link, but that's absolutely true when you play football and on the defensive side of it. A good quarterback will attack that weak link over and over and over. Offensive coordinators will, game plan around that. I mean, this is a game where offensively you are looking for mismatches, and if you find it and can attack it, you can be very successful despite a very strong, defense. If they have a weak link, we can hold on one second.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that, guys.
No,
Had my
good.
daughter wake up. She's good. She's good. But I was saying, what was I saying? I'm sorry.
That the defense, the strong defense is still
Right,
true.
right. So you can be in a position where you really have, you can have a very solid defense, but one weak link and they can attack it. Now, I think with that said, it's really hard to, as a defense to overcome specifically what a quarterback or a single offensive person can do. Because let's say you are that one wide receiver that has maybe like a corner that is playing, like you're playing against a rookie corner, and they keep attacking them. At that point, you may end up with 200 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns, and now you're the MVP. Or as a quarterback, right, you get 3 touchdowns. I mean, I think on offense it's so much easier to just accumulate individual stats as opposed to a defense that they all have to work in sync and the credit really gets spread out. Now, this is a situation where, to me, the Bucs defense was the MVP. And yeah, I know MVP is an individual player, but that whole defense really, I mean they
did
shut
something
down.
that's never been done.
Yeah, they absolutely they shut down the Chiefs' offense. Like, and that statement is huge. So, that's what's so difficult about being a defensive player trying to win an MVP. It's just, it's so much harder to accumulate the stats that a single person can accumulate, specifically a quarterback. That's why typically you'll see quarterbacks winning MVP, most years.
Yeah, no, we knew who the MVP was gonna be. I actually thought maybe if Gronk got another touchdown, I thought maybe he would, because he came out exploding in the first half, 2 touchdowns, I believe. But overall, like I said, it wasn't what I was expecting. I was just more like, oh man, I'm gonna have to go on the podcast.
No, and
it's the first time ever that's happened since we started it.
No, and I think my thoughts on this game was, a ton of credit to the Buccaneers defense for sure. I think the Chiefs, certain people were playing a bit nervous. Like, their punter was just doing terrible punts.
That was crazy. Yeah.
All game, hooking up Tampa Bay with amazing field position all game. I know that there was flags. That was a point of controversy, that there were a lot of favorable calls for Tampa Bay in the first half. There were a lot of, I think, pass interference and holding and
pushing,
and they were just like, really, like, they're calling this? I mean, it's the Super Bowl, but I mean, I really don't think that you can say, hey, well, that was it. That was the game, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I know it impacted the game, and I know a lot of people are upset about it, but the Chiefs scored 9 points. Like,
Yeah.
if it were maybe a game of like a 3-point game, I could say, oh yeah, those penalties really hurt. But the Buccaneers just basically dominated the Chiefs. Like, you
Yeah.
can't say that, oh well, you know, these flags cost them. I mean, it cost them, yes, but I mean, I just don't think that that was it. That was the reason. But
Yeah, it was a multitude of all those reasons: the flags, the linemen, the pressure, the not catching the touchdowns that they were catching all season. Those hard. I mean, he throws them right at you in your face, like it's coming in fast, and they were able to catch them all season. Not this game. And the lineman's the big story for me. Especially like I said, we suffered that this season, and that just goes to show again that if you don't have the preparation and you don't have a consistent line, it doesn't even have to be a great line, just the same 5 people going out there and working together. Like, it's gonna be difficult, and they only had a week, a week and a half to prepare for this game. If that, I don't know what with COVID rules, like I didn't know what the practice schedule was, but I mean, we had it all season. That's why towards the end we started to make the Cowboys started to make a little run, because we actually had 5 guys that had played towards like the last 4 weeks, and we actually started producing better. But that's one thing that I guess I overlooked, or I just thought maybe Mahomes could overtake. Like,
no, and a ton of credit to Mahomes, right? Because he's got an injured line. He's fighting for his life back in that backfield every single play, it seems like.
yeah.
He's not comfortable in that pocket. Yeah, he's running around. He's making these incredible throws where he's just like, I mean, he's getting thrown to the ground and he's throwing the ball 40 yards, like a yard off from his receiver. And on top of that, still leading his receiver. It wasn't like he just threw it up and said, oh, well, I mean, I know he did, but he still put it in a place where, like, it seemed like almost only his receiver can get it. And then on another play, the incredible one that everybody saw and everybody's talked about, I'm sure, but he's rolling out to the right. He gets tripped. I mean, he does a diving pass like 30 yards or something, and it hits the receiver in the face, and he drops it, and you're like, oh my goodness, this poor man is out there running around and like just doing anything he can. I mean, you saw the desire that he had to win, and I think his receivers let him down. I think his offensive linemen did not hold up enough for him, and it was just too much.
Yeah.
And a lot of credit to Tampa Bay. They put together a great game plan defensively.
And in the game, I didn't even notice that they had pulled, I think, the center because he was doing so bad. And then the backup did even worse, that they had to put the center back. I didn't even notice all that stuff.
No, I missed that as well.
But if there's one thing to take away, obviously, Brady's the best ever for now. I'm still saying for now. And I don't think this hurts Mahomes in that GOAT conversation. He'll be back plenty of times, I think, in my opinion. And if you all, next season, if this was your first time watching Mahomes, or you haven't watched a full game or just watched, I kept telling Ray throughout the season, like, I watched him because, and I didn't mean this as like a hyperbole, like every game there was a throw where I'm like, how did he do that? Now, it wasn't to that extreme where, that 40-yard, it wasn't like to that, but there is like little subtle things, especially when you've been watching football for a long time, that doesn't look like it's hard. But even if you've just been out there as a kid, playing with your friends, 5-on-5 or 7-on-7, and you get to be the quarterback, like, that some of these things are hard. And if you watch the games, like, trust me, you'll see something that you're like, oh, wow.
Mahomes is impressive to watch. No doubt about it. But we talked about this. This wasn't a discussion of who is the GOAT. Yeah. Because even if Mahomes had won, Tom Brady would have been the GOAT. Like, he was already the GOAT. and one loss or one, you know, one win for Patrick Mahomes doesn't make him the GOAT by beating Tom Brady. Does it add to his resume? For sure, absolutely. Like, he took out Tom Brady. Had he won the Super Bowl, the headlines would be like, you know, Patrick Mahomes beats, outplays Tom Brady. That would have been the headline type thing. New GOAT question mark type things. It's not. We're not quite there yet. Even if he had won it, Tom Brady has shown that he's been able to do that over the course of. Sorry, I don't know if we lost it. He's shown that he's been able to do that over the course of an entire career. But Patrick Mahomes, like you said, he's got plenty of time, and he has the ability to make his own case to be the GOAT. But he has to do it over the course of an entire career.
And that's the hard part.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowl wins, more than any NFL franchise. With being 6, with the Steelers and Patriots being the highest. Like, that's incredible that this man has been able to collect more rings than any single franchise. That's incredible. So, Tom Brady has put together an insane career, and he's not done, and that's the scary part. It's like, just retire. You've done enough. You're the GOAT. Like, just go be with your family.
I want my crack at Tom Brady. I think we play the Bucs next season, if I remember correctly. I want my crack at him, especially if we have a healthy Dak Prescott, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
But actually, I guess that's a good. I mean, unless you had any other thoughts on the Super Bowl.
Nah, it was a really impressive performance by Tampa Bay. It was fun to watch, even with the score being so lopsided, but it was just an impressive performance by 2 really good teams.
Yeah, no, I would say it was fun to watch. Even it's 31-9 doesn't seem like a good Super Bowl, but just the the narratives, oh my God, I can't believe Kansas City has not scored, and then oh my God, they didn't score. They actually did, all that. It's crazy. We'll move on to a couple of Cowboys news. So we had a couple of 2 Dak things. We had Blake Jarwin and we had CeeDee Lamb, both in the last couple of weeks, talking about Dak Prescott. We had CeeDee Lamb saying, he wants him back and he's expecting him back, and just kind of talking about working with Dak and how that's made him a receiver. And then we had Blake Jarwin post an Instagram picture of him hugging Dak, and the captions ready to ready to play in a few months, or ready to run it back in a few months. And then Dak comments under pretty much yes, he's ready to go on the team. So that created some headlines, because Dak has not spoken about his contract situation publicly at all this offseason. And there's been a lot of moving quarterbacks and questions about other quarterbacks. We don't know what's going to happen with Carson Wentz. We don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. We already saw, Matt Stafford and Goff. Goff being moved. And, even at the end of the Aaron Rodgers, him saying his little saying oh, I don't know if I'm going to be back. That kind of raised some eyebrows. So a lot of, quarterback moves to be made this offseason. And I even read there was a little chart that said that the chances of a quarterback who's been franchised twice to be back on the same team has never happened. The only quarterbacks who have been franchised even once is, well, now Dak, but it was Alex Smith when he was with the Washington football team, and he eventually got traded before that second tag. So there's people saying they're getting kind of nervous because a report came out also that the Cowboys' plan was to franchise tag him this year because they still have some time to negotiate the contract anyway. So any thoughts on all that? I know it's a lot.
Well, I mean, that's one of the biggest questions, right? In our off season is what are we doing? These comments and these, what what players are coming out and saying. I mean, of course they want Dak back, so it's not surprising to see these comments or even Dak's response. But in reality, we don't know. We don't know what's happening. We don't know why there hasn't been an announcement made for, either a contract in the works or the, leaning more towards a franchise tag. So, we're still obviously just kind of guessing at where we're at in the process and what we're doing, but I will say that it, concerning,
Yeah.
like Dak is a big part of our offense, and it doesn't seem like they've not even made any mention, I think, as to Andy Dalton. I mean, we don't have him. I believe in March we won't have him under contract, and I believe, I haven't heard any news there. So it's like, well, I think if we put Andy Dalton to a longer contract, like maybe it's leaning more towards us not signing Dak. Or I don't know. It's hard to say, but I can't imagine a world where we just let him walk either.
Yeah.
Like, not for free, not, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to not re-sign him, I guess. But we've talked about this. It's like the money aspect, right? So it's interesting where we're at.
What's happened with Wentz and what's happened with Goff and Deshaun, because those were the contracts that most recently happened that Dak was measuring himself against and saying, hey, like, I put up better numbers than these guys. I've won more consistently than these guys. Like, I deserve money. But then the counter argument is all these teams are trading these guys.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And there was even like, people making trades like, hey, what would a Dak Deshaun trade look like? Like, let's say Dak just gets fed up and he's like, hey, I want out, and talking about all that stuff. But I think Cowboys fans, I think even for me who had his hesitations on Dak, for sure. Now knowing what I know about all the other quarterbacks, I think I'm pretty confident that we have to re-sign him, and we might have to overpay, and that's just what we have to do. Whether it's either overpay or maybe, I don't know. That's the thing. Like, he hasn't said anything public. I don't know if he's looking for like a longer term deal, maybe, or if he's looking for a shorter term deal. Maybe that's
that's well, from what I've understood and from what I've read is that we've offered him a longer contract and he's looking for a shorter one.
Yeah.
Because for him, it's more profitable to continue to, renegotiate bigger contracts, more times in his career, because the way the contracts for quarterbacks are looking, they're just getting crazier and crazier and crazier every year, it seems like. And I mean, right now, if you're confident, and very clear that Dak is confident, he's looking for shorter contracts because he wants to get paid, more money more often. Like, he wants to secure new deals more often, which would, allow him to negotiate for these higher and higher contracts. So,
and that makes sense because there a lot of players, you kind of start seeing it with some of these they're trying to do what the NBA does in terms of contracts, especially like the higher NBA stars, they do like 1-year deals or 2-year deals to try to re-up. But the reason why it's not as popular in football is because the risk of injury is higher, and the risk of like not being able to play football is higher, especially with those type of injuries that you get in football. So there hasn't really been, maybe like, you remember Darrelle Revis when he signed with the Patriots for like 1 year, and then he signed with another team for like 1 year. Like, he was doing a lot of these one-year deals, and he kind of set a little motion thing. And I think Martellus Bennett did it for a little bit, being his own agent. So there's some players here and there, and I think there's more I'm just missing. They're looking for that shorter term deal so that they can get more money. But this season makes it, to add to this, is the salary cap is not going to go up because of the pandemic. There wasn't, any fans on most of the stadiums. Even the fans that were at some of the stadiums, it wasn't a lot. So that they're going to be hindered by that. It's just very, I think as Cowboys fans, we just want to know already, like, hey, what's going on? Like, are we close? We just want some more. If it's been going on for almost 2 years now, and it's getting to that point.
Yeah, I think I'm with you though. I think your statement saying like we need to resign him and we potentially just need to go ahead and overpay potentially. I think that's absolutely right. Like, I think we need to give Dak what he's looking for. I mean, not only has he played an outstanding, 4 or 5 years under his rookie contract, and then, he played the year on his franchise tag. Franchise tag pays him very well. But I know what I think it is time to just give him that peace of mind, like, hey, you are our guy. Now, this is really difficult to do because that we franchise tag him as a make or break year, and then he got injured.
Yeah.
So how do you really measure his value? But I think you do measure his value by what we weren't able to do offensively once he was gone.
Yeah.
And we struggled for majority of the year, and it's one of those things where you're like, oof, I didn't like that. Like, can we just get Dak back in here? But the question is also how strong does he come back? But knowing Dak and his just his mentality and preparation.
If anything, I would argue that him being injured actually helped him, because of how bad the line was. People would have been saying, "Oh, he can't carry the team," when he doesn't have help and all. But the reality is, no one could have carried the team. They would have been comparing him to other quarterbacks who had dealt with injuries around their team. So I mean, I don't wish an injury on anyone. I'm not saying.
No, I understand what you're saying. I think the thing to look at here is, even when we were having some trouble with the line, before he got injured, he was still putting up these crazy numbers, and the offensive line situation got pretty bad there, throughout the season. But I think that he was still putting up crazy amount of numbers, and that wasn't necessarily a good thing, because a lot of times it was that we were coming back from these huge deficits, so we had no choice but to just air it out and try to get back into it. But nonetheless, he still had to make those passes. He still had to get those yards, and he was getting a ton of them. So we were having success in the air, and
that was just showing how good our receivers were early on in the season. Like, looking back at it now, the reason why we were able to score those many points.
It goes both ways. I mean, Dak is the other half of that equation, no doubt. But no, the receivers too. I mean, we have a very strong receiver core, but all the more reason to get the best possible quarterback in there and maximize that. Now, there's a quarterback carousel going on this offseason. Quarterbacks getting shipped left and right, and Carson Wentz is still out there. Apparently, the Eagles are asking for a ridiculous amount of picks to trade him out. So, I don't know if they're gonna have to lower their expectations, or if they're gonna have to, or if someone's gonna pay. But
well, the Colts, they're a good team. They've been a good team. They just, Andrew Luck left them a couple years ago. They tried Jacoby Brissett, and that didn't work out. And they brought in Phillip Rivers, and I mean, they made the playoffs. Like, they have a solid team, and they're just looking for a quarterback.
And Phillip Rivers retired.
Yeah.
So
they're gonna be going hard for either Deshaun or Wentz.
Right.
But they're not the only team.
Yeah, the thing about Dak is we can't trade him because we don't have him under contract. So, there's no trading Dak or anything like that. I mean, it's we either don't sign him and he's a free agent, he can go anywhere else, or we pay him. And that's the scary thing, is that if we let him, right now, for Dak to negotiate, he has all the leverage. Why? Because there's teams like the Colts out there that will pay him big money to go over with them.
Yeah. Well, he would have to hold out though, because we would franchise him, and he would say, "I'm not playing," and then he would lose out on the money, because the franchise is the second one, so it's even higher. It's a ridiculous amount.
I don't know what the actual how it works in terms of I know you can franchise someone and they're restricted, but I don't know if you can do it twice, and if they continue to be restricted. So I think it's my understanding.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm not sure how that works exactly, but I don't think that they're able to just continue to franchise him. And plus, it's also extremely expensive to do that because you're paying him a very high like per year contract. So
Yeah, you could do it 3 times and that's it.
okay.
Yeah, so after that, then you lose him.
But yeah, that's
it goes significantly up every year. So
yeah,
it's good for the player. That's why they have it. But some argue it's really not that good for the player. But it depends on. I mean, he got his money this year. He got paid really well, and he'll continue to get paid well. That's not going to be the issue. It's just the stability, and you don't want to be playing with that in the back of your mind, like, hey, the team doesn't trust me.
I think that's the biggest factor here. That it's the fact that why haven't you signed me? Like, do you not believe in me? Like, what do I have to do to get you to believe in me? Because ever since he's been our quarterback, like he's been great. I mean, have we
if I
had
were
down
Dak,
years?
that's how I would feel, especially
Yeah.
knowing if we're Cowboys fans. It's like Jerry Jones pays everyone, man. Like he paid Tony Romo there towards the end of his career, and people were like, "Whoa, what the?" Tony
Yeah.
Romo was good, but what are you doing? He paid T.O. Even right before he paid Zeke, he paid Jalen, he paid Lawrence, and so it's like he has a point. It's like, and they say all the right things. Like, yeah, we want quarterback. He's our long-term quarterback. We want Dak, and but they're saying all the right things. So if I were Dak, I'd be confused. But I'm not in the negotiation, so Dak could be just playing hardball, like really hardball, and they're actually paying him, and he's not willing to concede on certain things, and that we don't know that. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's just one of those things like, let's just sign him so we can put this behind us, give him the contract. And if we need to, I mean, and if he wants a shorter contract, give it to him. Because, hey, then that's less years. If we're not sure about him, then, but to me, I think he's proven it. Like, I go back and forth on this a lot, but I think just to me, it's like, I've seen enough. Just give him a contract. Give him the contract that he's
it's
looking
really
for.
hard to find a quarterback.
Yeah, it's so hard because who else are you gonna go with? Like, you want Carson Wentz? No, thank you. Like, and all the draft picks, and then you still have to adopt that massive contract. Like, that's not even a reality. You'd have to wait for a great quarterback to just be a free agent. That just doesn't happen. And then, you're gonna go to the draft? Like, even in the 10th position, it's like, even if you got the first overall, nothing's a guarantee when you're talking about draft picks. Like, Dak has proven what he is, and he's good enough to win, and good, strong leader, and mentally tough. Like, just pay the man. He's a good leader. He's what we need, and in my opinion, like, is there more elite out there? Yeah, there is. But does that prevent him from winning you games? No, not at all. Dak can win you games, and I can see him winning the big one. So that's enough. Just pay him, and let's look at the rest of our team and focus on the rest of the team after that. Yeah. But you need to just get him the contract, the money that he deserves, but also give him the peace of mind that we believe in you. You're our guy, and we love you, and let's go. Like. You can't have him like you're stringing him along like, well, maybe yes, maybe no. Like, I'm sure Dak takes issue to that. Like, yeah, that probably hurts a little.
Yeah. No, I mean, you brought up Dalton too. And I think for Dalton more, it's the fact that he's just going to wait and see if there's any teams that, didn't get any of these quarterbacks that we were talking about, and seeing, what the market is for him. And if he can get a starting job, I think he'll go for it. If he can't, I think we'll make him a decent offer, and he'll strongly consider, like, hey, I mean, I think he's from Texas, and his family is from Texas, I believe so. And so I really enjoyed having him as a backup. He's one of the best backups we've had in a long time.
Yep.
And I think it's
respectable performance this year for us, and we definitely, he proved his value this year for us because we needed him big time. And I mean, did we win a lot of games? No,
there's
but
a lot of teams that need quarterbacks. So, I mean, he might get a chance somewhere, but I think that's what we're waiting in terms of. I'm not sure if we've already gone up to him and be like, hey, sign with us, please. That's what I would have done. I'm like, how much do you want? All right, I can do this.
Yeah, but that kind of discussion actually should be like with Dak first to
But that's the Cowboys put themselves in this position. I mean, people still talk about the Zeke contract, and I still really don't have a problem. I can understand where people have a problem, even just in terms of like you never pay running backs that much, and I get it, but just the way the team was rolling at that point, we haven't been able to get back to that because of injuries. And on paper, again, I hope if we have Dak, if we have a good strong line, and we have Zeke back to normal, and we have all the receivers. I mean, all that has been shown separately to work. Now, if we can put it all together, it'd be a beast team. It's always us talking.
And we'll probably touch on this a little bit more next week, but in terms of our expectations, like I believe we can be a great team. This has the capability to just be an incredibly strong offense. Like I think, if we just shore up our defense a little bit more, we could be a team that really is like, high expectation. I mean, we have high expectations almost every year coming in because of our offense and Dak and Zeke and our what used to be our offensive line with a lot of strength. And it is when it's healthy, but it has so much potential. I mean, I'd love to just see a healthy year. That's always kind of like the issue for us. And I mean, we have so much potential, but it's like you said, let's just get these key figures like locked up. I mean, I'm not upset with the Zeke contract either. I mean, it was a big contract and we still had 2 years of him on contract, but he was holding out and stuff. And it was like, well, we need him. So, Jerry paid up and that's fine, but now pay up for your quarterback too, because we need him too. Like, you can't just not pay your quarterback. We need him, so let's just get him on contract. Let's go and we'll figure it out. Like.
Well, we need to get it going. But all right, but with that, I mean, that's all the news I got. Any other news that you got?
No, I mean, our off-season priority, and I think as we continue on these next few weeks, I mean, we're gonna kind of be focused on the off season, talking about what we can do and what priorities do we have, which we have a lot. So we'll be diving into that and such. But
and we have our opponent list, and I'm sure you all have seen it. If y'all haven't seen it, we're going to talk about it. We just wanted to wait till the Super Bowl is over and all this stuff to really start talking more about Cowboys off-season stuff. And we can go over the opponent list, even though we don't have like the actual schedule. We know who we're going to play. And as it gets closer to the season, we'll talk about we won't really like deep dive into like all the draft prospects and stuff. Like I don't follow that crazy. I just kind of look at the mock drafts and I look at what I think we need and talk about it in that sense. But I'm not going to be like, oh, this guy out of this college. Like I've seen them. Like I've seen 4 YouTube videos now. Like I'm not. What is it? The mock guys on ESPN. I'm not one of those guys.
Yeah, the draft, mock draft like experts, which are never close or anything. We're not going to dive into that. We're going to focus more on who we have on the Cowboys and what maybe more positionally like do we need. What could and talk about expectations, and we'll follow any news that pops up as we get through this through this off season. But
and that's the plan. I mean, just going through, we have free agency kicking off, then we'll have the draft kicking off, then the schedule officially comes out, and then by that point, hopefully some Dak news, and then we'll kick off the off season. I mean the preseason and stuff like that. So it's gonna be fun once it gets closer. I can't wait till the game start and we start doing this podcast. It'll be fun with our predictions and but again, don't forget to follow us here on the social media on the top right. Twitter at 5star_podcast, and then Facebook /5star podcast. Give us your comments. We definitely want more engaging. We want a community so that we know what you guys like. We're not just because we just come up with these topics that we like to talk about, just normally. But if there's something specific that we haven't hit on that you wanted us to, want your opinion on, just let us know, please. And just give us a follow, and we'll be looking out. But other than that, any last words for you?
I just appreciate you guys sticking with us this season, and we do look forward to continuing it through the off season and definitely for next year. We want to build on this, and we definitely appreciate all the people listening, and any input would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, and if you're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe. If you're watching it on Facebook, like and follow. I think that's what it is. All right, until next time. Later, y'all.